So you're thinking of getting into writing fan fiction, and you want some pointers. Well, I've been writing fan fiction since like the late 90s. I got into it with Toonami and with fan fiction surrounding Tenchi Muyo. That's what I started with, and I moved on to Ranma Half. I've done a little bit of Naruto. So I'm not as prolific as I used to be, but I do still write occasionally. I maybe release a couple of chapters a year on a lot of my stories. I need to write a lot more, but fan fiction is just one of the ways we as fans of anime, and it doesn't have to specifically be anime. It can be anything. You can write fan fiction for Star Trek, Star Wars. You can write it for Indiana Jones, whatever you want. Fallout. You know, if it's a medium out there and there are fans of it, you can write a story about it. It you know, if you got that much passion for something, be creative and get out there and write. But I've got 5 pointers that every new writer should know. 5 special tips, and I've been writing long enough basically to know these are the key points that you should know, especially one of them, even especially more so nowadays than anything for writing. The first one, and these are in no particular order, not 1 to 5, you know, top 5 tips. I was going to make them 10 tips, but I thought these 5 were the best that I could really think of, that would be the best, that would serve you the most if you were thinking of getting into writing fan fiction. And so the first one, number 5, write for yourself. Don't look for validation from others in your writing. If you're getting into this in order to get, you know, validation or recognition from others, you're doing it for the whole wrong reason. You're writing fan fiction because you are a fan of a particular series or movie or book or manga or anime or whatever, and you are a fan of that series and you are writing a story in it. You're either writing a canon story or you're writing something that is outside of canon. You're creating your own canon for the story. What they used to call an alternate universe back in the Tenchi Muyo fanfiction days. They still sort of call it that. Alternate universe, crossover, when you bring in characters from other shows or whatever. But write for yourself. Write stories that you like. Just do that. Don't try to write something that you think will make everybody happy. You can't make everybody happy. You absolutely can't. So just write for yourself. And whether you share your stories or not, write them for yourself. And if you share them and other people like them, great. If they don't like it, great. Which takes us into number 4. Don't let negative feedback discourage you. Now, we're in a day and age where there are people who attach their very identity to something, to a series. And there are some who are a bit more, let's just say, extreme than others. Oh, what happened? Oh man, where was I? Yeah, you don't let negativity bother when you are writing something. As I said, there are some people that will go to extremes, not as extreme as they are going with chibi reviews. That's stupid extreme. But he's not a fan fiction writer. He is calling people out on their bullshit, and he's been doing it for years. So You probably won't run into people like that, but there are people who are kind of nuts when it comes to the fandom that they are into. And most times, people who are like that aren't really fans. They are what we call tourists. And they're into a specific series, but they're not really an anime. They don't really care about what they're watching. They only care that something that they're watching is fitting within their own little head narrative. That it is agreeing with their own little head canon. And if they see something that goes against that, they are going to react really negatively towards it. And some of them can get really extreme. I'm not trying to say this to scare you off from it, but there are some who could act really, really extreme. It won't go as probably very rarely does it ever go as far as what's happening with Chibi, where people have tried to dox him, tried to actually get him killed. I mean, that's ultimately what doxing's all about, is trying to get you killed. That's what it is. Doxing is trying to get someone killed. I mean, why else would someone do that? Why else would someone release you where you live, if not to try and, goad somebody into going out and killing that person? That's basically what doxing is all about. That's what, to get people to head to your house. They've vandalized his brother's grave and all sorts of stuff, and he's done the right thing. He has stayed the course. He has not changed anything. He has not backed down. That is the most important thing. If that ever happens to you, if you ever run into some extreme people who act really negatively to things you write or things you post, the most important thing to remember, the one thing you should never, ever do is back down. Never, ever give in. Never give them what they want. Ever. Just don't ever do it. That's the last thing you want to do, because it will embolden them. It will make them worse. It will not make them back off. It will just make things worse. So if you do run into some negative people, what you want to do, and this is important, listen to this. One, don't change anything that you're doing. Just keep writing. As I said, running into people who are that insanely extreme is rare. It can happen, but it's extremely rare, and most of these people are cowards anyway. So here's what you do. If you run into them in social media, document everything. Take screenshots of messages and then block them. If they create an old account and continue to attack you, then screenshot that, block that person. Also, before you're blocking them, report them. If you're on X, report them to support. If they continue to do it, just keep reporting them and keep documenting things and keep blocking them. If you have accounts on other services, like with Chibi, they hacked into his other accounts and started posting CP under his name, actual CP, because they'll call you names. They'll call you a PEDO, yet they're the ones that have actual CP in their possession to post on other people's accounts. Yeah, as I said, there is a minimal chance of you running into people like that, and you should not let something like that discourage you from writing. Absolutely not. I'm not trying to say this to discourage you, but you should be mindful that there are people like that out there, and you should protect yourself. So don't use common passwords. Maybe use a password generator to create really long, weird passwords, and keep copies of those passwords on maybe a USB stick or something. Also use 2FA wherever you can and other accounts. I think you have to have premium on X in order to use 2FA on X, but use 2FA wherever you can. It's a two-factor authentication that uses an authentication app, sort of like Authy or Google Authenticator. And it's not a perfect protection, but it is an extra layer of protection that is better than just a password. And so just protect yourself, and if you get threats, if you get harassment, screenshot everything, keep copies, report them, block those people if you can on whatever platforms you're on. If you're on X, block them on X, block them on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, Zuckerberg said that Facebook's going to start being more like X, going to start being fair. I will believe it when I see it. But know that there are crazy people out there, and they're going to react really poorly sometimes to the things you write. But as I said, absolutely do not let this scare you from writing and sharing your work. Just don't, because that's what they want. They don't want you to share your stuff. They want you to be scared of sharing your ideas and sharing your stories. They want you to be scared, because these people, all they know is hatred. All they have is hatred in their heart. The hatred for themselves and hatred for others. They don't really care about the things that they're going to be screaming about. They don't really care about it. But don't hate them back. That's another thing you don't want to do, is hate them back. Now, if you're a religious person, pray for them. If you're not, what you want to do is, instead of hating them, because hating them is just going to fester that hate inside you, and it's going to turn you into somebody that you won't recognize. And you don't want to do that. Maybe take some time and meditate a little and just think thoughts of love towards those people. I'm not saying don't send them love messages. Don't do that online. No, don't do that. But think stuff like, I hope that person that sent me that message wakes up one day and realizes the kind of person that he's become, and he realizes what he's become, and he tries to become a better person. Send thoughts like that out. Don't respond with hate, with more hate. Don't argue with them. It's easy to get into that kind of thing. I have to remember myself sometimes. It's easy to just get caught up in the cycle of anger and hatred, but don't let yourself get caught up in it, because it will turn you into somebody that you won't like, and you don't want that. And if you put out that positivity, you put out that love energy, you'll be helping yourself. You really be helping yourself, because you don't want that hate to fester inside you. But you'll be putting that energy out there to help them too, even though you're not sending them messages, because they won't respond to it well. They can't respond to it well. They're just too mired in hate and anger in order to do it. So that's my again, don't be discouraged by all this. Most people who write fan fiction don't even run into these sort of people, but on rare occasions you will. And as I said, the kind of extreme reaction that Chibi's getting from people, he's been kicking the hornet's nest for years. So what's happening to him is sort of unique, and he's doing the right thing by not backing down. And you should never back down either. but at the same time, protect yourself. Make sure that your accounts are secured so that nobody can try anything with you. Anyway, let's move on to the next point, because we spent a lot of time on this one, but this was an important one. Number 3, only use characters and settings that you are personally familiar with. Not because you'll get anybody angry for getting lore wrong, but because you want to try and you want to make a more authentic experience, authentic story. Let's say you're writing something with Sailor Moon and you want to bring in SG-1 into the story. Now, how would Jack O'Neill respond to Usagi or Sailor Moon in the gang? How would he respond to them? How would Daniel Jackson respond to their lore, their story about the Moon Kingdom or the Silver Millennium? How would they respond? How would, Major Carter respond, and Teal'c? If you don't know anything about who these characters are and what their personalities are and how they respond in certain situations, how can you craft a story that authentically shows how they might respond to these particular situations? Because if you know, maybe they've never been in this kind of situation before, but you would know enough about these characters and how they act to know, this might be the way Jack O'Neill responds to seeing stuff like this. This might be the way Samantha Carter responds. How the other characters will respond to what's happening. Daniel Jackson, how he will respond, how Teal'c will respond. It adds authenticity to your story. It's not about keeping the lore correct. It's about knowing the characters, knowing how they respond in certain situations, knowing their personalities, and the settings for characters, like Sailor Moon's in Juban, Ron Mahap is in Nerima. Study about those locations, find out where they are. I've actually been to Nerima in VR chat, not VR chat, but Google Earth VR. I've actually explored Nerima. It's a lot like it is in the anime. The real Nerima is an awful lot like it is in the anime. I haven't been to Juban. I'm still trying to find Juban, because Juban is just part of the name. I've been trying to find it. I know it's an actual location. I know it's an actual part of Tokyo. It's one of the suburbs of Tokyo. Tokyo's a humongous city. But I've been to Nerima in Google Earth VR, and you don't have to use Google Earth VR. You can just use regular old Google Earth and go into, go where you, what's that mode? Where you're on foot and looking around like you're on foot. I forget what they call that. Yeah. But anyway, do that. Explore those settings, because a lot of anime are based on, real life settings, and it doesn't have to be specifically an anime either. I mean, if you want to write about D&D, read up on D&D. Maybe read some D&D books. Maybe the R.A. Salvatore novels. Those are really good. His novels are really good. Maybe the Dragonlance novels from I forget the authors they were the authors who created Dragonlance for D&D. Maybe read their novels. Maybe play Baldur's Gate 3 if you have access to that. Play that to familiarize yourself with the lore of the universe, with various characters, important characters in the story. Know their personalities, know the settings. That way, when you bring them into your story, even if you're going to create a whole new lore for the characters, or you're going to change lore, or you're going to weave two different universes together, in a way that makes it seem like they belong. Like if you're gonna have like John Constantine visit Hogwarts, for instance, you want to know who those characters are, their personalities. You want to know the setting for Hogwarts. You want to know the personalities of the characters from the books, or even just the movies. You want to know those characters well. That way you create an authentic experience. That way you write those characters in a way that they would naturally react to certain situations. So you know specifically how a certain character would respond to any given situation. That's why I say only use characters and settings that you're personally familiar with, so that you can get things right. It's not about getting the lore correct. It's about an authentic experience of, hey, this character will respond a specific way to this specific thing. Because I know, I know what Edward Elric would do in a certain situation, or I know what Tilk would do in a certain situation. I know what Kirk would do in a certain situation. I know what Commander Adama would do in a certain situation. I know what Dresden would do in a certain situation. I've never read the Dresden novels, but I hear that these power levels in that series are insane, or Supernatural, If you never watched Supernatural, watch Supernatural. And if you want to bring the Winchester brothers in to Helsing, for instance, learn about both series. Watch those series. Watch Helsing and Helsing Ultimate, and watch Supernatural and learn about those characters, so you'll know how they would be able to respond to each other properly. And that's all important. That's for writing a really good story, so that you will, you get the gist. I'm just rambling on. Number 2, study how other people write for pointers on how you can improve your own writing. And, I've been doing that for a while. I've been studying how other people write. There are some fan fiction writers out there who are really good, and I've been studying up on how they write their stories, how to structure paragraphs, and how to handle dialogue and everything. And I've been working on my own writing style. You don't want your writing style to stagnate. You want to constantly improve. You want to evolve it, make it better. And one of the best ways of doing that is to study how other people write. Look at some really good fan fiction writers and see how they write their stories, and try to incorporate that style into your writing, or how to alter your existing writing to be a little bit more like theirs, but without exactly copying them, to improve how you write. And that will help your story flow better, and it will make it easier for people to read. Because if you write if you've got a really good story, but your writing is really crappy, people are not going to stick with it because it's hard to read. So it's important to constantly evolve and improve your writing style. And finally, we come to number 1. And this is probably the most important one. This is have fun. You're doing this for fun. This is a hobby. You're not doing this for pay. Please don't try to do this for clout. Don't try to do this to get people's satisfaction, to get to get people just to acknowledge you. Do it because you want to. Do it because it's fun for you. This sort of ties into number 5, the first one that I did, write for yourself. But again, this ties into that one. But you want to have fun. Don't think that you have to rush and push out new chapters just to please people. If posting stuff in fanfiction.net saying, when's your next chapter coming? When's your next chapter coming? If you feel that you need to take time to write your stories, if you feel that you need to take maybe a month or more to write a chapter, do that. Don't feel like you have to rush. You don't want to burn yourself out. You can easily burn yourself out by rushing. Go at your own pace and ultimately have fun with it. Because that's what it's all about, is having fun. You're writing fan fiction for the love of what you're writing. Even if you're not sticking completely to canon, although there are some out there who will say if you're not sticking directly to canon, then you're not writing for the love of it. And don't let them dictate that. God, canon police. That's another group you need to watch out for, but they're not nearly as extreme as the tourists and antis out there. Tourists and antis don't really care about what the fandom is that they're a part of. They just want validation. And just don't be discouraged by those people. Again, write to have fun. That's ultimately what writing fanfiction's all about, is having fun. Anyway, I've rambled on with this enough. I hope that these pointers help you out. There are some other things that I could have added to this, like how to separate out time skips in stories, always include copyright disclaimers in the first chapter of a story, all the other things. Those are things that you will learn over time in writing fan fiction. Those are things that you will learn in time. These are the 5 tips that I think are the most important that you should know starting out. I don't want to overwhelm you with too much stuff. Anyway, thanks for watching. I've been Mike TheZorch. Have some stuff soon. I'm also going to start doing a lot of videos on X. So, you want to follow me on X? I'm going to be posting a lot of videos on there more. I'm going to start doing little snippet videos, making comments about different stuff on there from time to time. They're not going to be long, but I'm doing more of them, and still doing stuff on here. Still doing gaming stuff on here. I still want to do this review video. I've been wanting to do this for a while. I just need to get off my big fat butt and do it. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.